So good evening. Tonight we have a interesting topic, I think, which there's not much information you can find on the internet. And that is something which we call today engineered marble. And in the old days in Germany, we call that stucco marble. And you could also call it fake marble. I found a really interesting documentary about a trade which so no longer exists. In German, we have a plasterer, which you would translate from German as the Gipser, which means in English plasterer. That is the person who does plastering of walls or sheetrock and that sort of stuff. They also do the rendering or render on the outside of the building. I found this interesting because we also had a profession, we still probably do, which is called in German Stuckateur. Stukkauer, Stuckateur. And that is the plasterer who is specialized in stucco, either outside or inside the building. And stucco is an art form of plastering and rendering, so to speak. But the online translators from German to English translate Stuckateur to plasterer. The Stuckateur, or the stucco expert tradesman, so to speak, was also divided into an expert who does just stucco itself, working with lime plaster, basically, lime mortar, lime gypsum, to create figurines and crown moldings and ornaments and all of that stuff. And then we had a subcategory in there, which is the stucco expert to create stucco marble from pure lime mortar with paint pigments. And I have a 15-minute documentary of a German expert who used to do this. The documentary is in German, so but you will get the idea of what they're doing if you've worked with gypsum or with lime before. One word I have to say up front is the lime they're using is burned in a kiln with fir wood at 1300 degrees Celsius. That is a special type of lime which is very pure and extremely dry, and it does not contain sulfur. When they burn limestone to lime in a kiln, many times they used to use coal, and coal will add sulfur to the white limestone, and that will turn yellowish over a period of time. When you use fir wood for the burning process, which you need a tremendous amount of, that has no sulfur content in it, which means the lime is going to remain white for the pretty much the life of it until it is crumbled apart over time. Now you may be wondering is if you bought a house, or a mansion, house, whatever you may have bought, or castle, and you said I spent $5,000 or $10,000 of why should I be watching my video about stucco marble? It may come in handy in the beautification process, as I'm pointing out in this video with a lot of pictures from the Albrechtsberg Castle. That was my third great-grandfather's castle he had to build after he got divorced from his first wife, and he had to live outside of Prussia, so he moved to Dresden with his second wife. That was one of those deals, and he built that in 1850, from 1850 to 1854. the documentary all the way in the end about the stucco expert who is showing us on how to make the stucco marble. They're saying in there that labor was cheap at that time. That is not quite correct. It was expensive then, and it was expensive today, or it is expensive today. The reason for that being is these type of tradesmen, they were organized in guilds, which means it was a regulated business. No one else could get in there unless you had, undergone a 3 or 4 year apprenticeship and then had become a master of your trade to order to run your own business. That was one. They were limited in numbers in the local areas, which means there was not a lot of competition. And then thirdly, it takes a long time to do all of this intricate stucco work. I mean, we're talking years. In our case, the Albrechtsberg Castle was built on a existing foundation, a basement basically, which was already there from a previous villa which had been built in 1802 or 1803 by a Scottish man. And that was then torn down and they built that new thing up there. So the actual structure, the stone structure of the building itself went up fairly quick, probably within a year and a half. That was done, including the roof. What took then so long, and that's where the expensive part comes in, was the intricate stucco work in the building and that kind of stuff. The time it took, not so much the material, because lime was not that expensive. It is not that expensive today. And all you need is lime for this stuff. And you need color pigments, water-soluble paint, basically paint pigments, to mix this. And you need a natural type of glue, which comes from a root. And I have to translate this, actually. It is mentioned in the video on how this works. And then there's a lot of polishing once you have that marble created. So it is a very time-consuming process, but you can make now marble basically into any shape you can imagine. And this video here is supposed to help you to get your imagination going of what you may can do inside your building or your house or your castle or whatever it might be. So maybe it's for a fireplace, maybe you just want to make a cupboard out of marble, and it's probably not that difficult. It will take a lot of experimenting and experience. So as more as you work with this stuff, it is basically like making a dough making. You probably could use a bread maker or the machine to knit the dough, basically, to make that dough, that marble dough out of lime. And then you're basically on your way. When you watch this video, and if you have worked with lime before and you have some artistic inclinations, you probably will be well on your way. So I wish you enjoyment. This is a long video, so you may want to get yourself, stop the video here, get yourself a cold beverage, a tea, coffee, whatever you might be, and a little snack, and then kick back and watch all of the stuff as we're going through this. Enjoy yourself. Thank you for subscribing, and thank you for liking my videos. So, as I mentioned now in this segment, I would like to explain some of these things we're going to be looking at later on with the engineered marble, on how this is actually made by the aforementioned stuccateur, the stucco expert, or stucco plasterer, a plasterer who is an expertise with stucco, and in that particular instance, the stucco marble, which it was called back then, rather than fake marble or engineered marble. This is now the outline from Lose's drawing, from one of Lose's drawing, as the castle was originally built on top of the existing villa, mansion. The mansion had been torn down, and I believe only the basement was in existence or left at that point. And with the basement we see here, which is a very rare rendering I found here, or drawing I found actually, of the first floor, we can see here the park with the water fountain. Let me use the pen. Water fountain, the big staircase, and the driveway going around to the entrance. And then we can see here, this is the riverside basically, and this would be the outside park going downhill towards the river embankment. And this is now the first floor, and we're going to start from the left because here's something you're not going to see very often. This is a ice cellar. That's basically what this translates to. And you can see this, you have an inner wall which is detached from the outer wall of the building, except that they are connected here and here. And what they used to do is, and they have cavities here on this side and on this side and on this side. What they used to do is they filled that up with ice from the lakes and the rivers during the winter months. The ice was cut by people who were mostly fishermen, who couldn't really do fishing when the lakes and rivers were frozen during the winter, had ice. So what they would do is they would start cutting ice blocks out of the river and out of the lake. And these ice blocks were sold, and they were stored in these type of buildings. This is a 2-story building, so you're seeing the staircase going down basically into the basement height. And this is, I believe, still standing. This would be the entrance on the first floor, same level as the castle. And you would come in here and you could go downstairs. And then they had 2 more, and there was probably a door. Here was a door. You got in here. This was the regular basement cellar, and this was regular cellar type storage areas, and you could go downstairs. So this was a 2-level undertaking, and they would store potatoes, vegetables, and all of that sort of stuff, whatever they had prepared or what they needed for throughout the year in terms of food supplies. And then they had the ice cellar, and that's where they stored everything that had to be cooled down. They packed the thing up with ice. The insulation between the inner wall and the outer wall was either filled with cork or with straw and sand. Usually they use straw or sand less, unless nothing else was available, or cork. And that room would maintain a temperature of 0 degrees Celsius to about plus 4 degrees Celsius while the ice was melting. And they had so much ice in there that it would last from about January to January for 12 months. And that gave them a constant temperature. And this was a double door lock. So they had a door here sealed and a door here. And that would basically, so you could go in here, close this door, and then open that door up. And then you could go in there to minimize the heat or the warm air going in there. Almost every building since probably around 1500 or so had an ice cellar, and the ice was delivered by sled. Usually they would bring several blocks over there, 100 blocks, 200 blocks. They were in manageable sizes, say like 50 centimeters by 50 centimeters by 50 centimeters, so a quarter cubic meter per block in that size roughly, dependent also on the thickness of the ice from the lake or the river, on how much deep it was frozen. Usually the ice harvest happened in January and February, the 2 coldest months, probably the end of January. By that time everything had pretty much frozen. And then we go over here and we can see we did not use the term Lakaien. Lakais, in the Prussian state which we belong to, we did not refer to servants as lackeys. because the state or the kingdom of Prussia did not have serfs. They had no, we didn't have that. You couldn't have slaves or Leibeigene, lackeys, or any of this stuff. This was outlawed since 1701. So we didn't pursue, but the public used that term. They never kind of got this message, I guess. They didn't have any lackeys themselves, but we didn't have any either, and we didn't refer to those. So this was actually a room, a waiting room, used for this, not for the lackeys. That's basically what I needed to say here. And here's another thing, is what we can see is we have the library here, and then we have a staircase here. These were the servant staircases on both sides, here and here. These are the two servant staircases. This was a bath with a bathtub in it. I have some pictures of this. I will show you this. And the buffet and this here, these were servants' quarters, where they usually had a bed in there for each person. And then we had the adjutant. This was primarily the office of the court martial. Library, and then that was just a cabinet or a sitting room, basically. And that was a sitting area as well. My third great grandfather used this here, this whole area, as his personal office, basically, so to speak, primarily. And then we have a flower room here, Blumenzimmer, that's what that is referred to. And we have a hall here, Halle. This is this area here. This part here no longer exists today, this part. All of this is missing. And there's a hidden staircase, which you could go to from the library. There was a door in here, and you could get in here from the cabinet side, or you could get in here. This was a hallway, so you could get only in here. Yeah, that's how that was. You could get in only through the library, basically. These two shafts here were for steam heat. That is where the steam heat went through on this side of the building, one being the chimney and the other one actually transporting the heat. And let me show you another picture real quick. I think this is going to be a little bit longer, this video, because there's a lot to talk about it. And this is the actual Halle, the hall, where the window side is this here, which they had actually drawn in as a solid line, as a wall. But you can see the pillars here, the posts. And this is this is these columns here, basically, these posts they put in there. And this is the door going into the flower room with the stairs. This is what you see here. I do not know. These are the stairs, and this is the door into the flower room, going into what they call the cabinet. And then you could go from there either through here, or you can go through the library, and you could use the servant staircase or the main staircase going up there. Let me just show you now some other pictures. So this was the original rendering. The more common one, which has been publicized, is the one which was later available. Here we can see it does not show the ice cellar in the basement or the cellars in general. We can still see the bathroom here. They still call that the lucky room, which again we didn't have. Library, and this is that staircase, and I'm going to talk about this in a second. And this cabinet became the smoking room. And this became the billiard room, basically. But it was actually, for the better part, the library. And you can see you can go through here, but you could not enter into the staircase. Only through the library you could get to this staircase. And let me go. So this is again the first floor. Now we can see the second floor. And here they're actually telling us this is where the water pipes went through. And this is where the steam chimney was, basically, where the steam came out. So the water pipes also carried the steam pipes. And then you had here cabinet, a saloon. And this was the bedroom, actually, of my third great grandfather. That was his bathroom slash area where they put the zinc top up where he could wash himself down. And then he had his walk-in closet basically here. And then they had a room here for the servant, basically, for the butler. And over here, this was his second wife's bedroom. She had a salon here. She had a reception room here. He had a room here, and he had a saloon here too. And that was her bathroom, and that was her walk-in closet too. So it was like a mirror thing. And this is the main, they call it the crown room. And then this was here the actual dining room on the second floor. And then on the third floor, this was this up here. Above his bedroom, there was the Kasse. That is, Kasse means that was the safe. That's where the money was stored. And then next to it here was the silver. All of the silverware was kept here, right above him. And the only way you could get into these rooms is through the servant staircase. And this is the actual dome over the main staircase. And then he had an extra room here. And then they had a room here for the music choir, for the musicians to play there, which would then go into the open ceiling area so they could have music in that big room below, which was basically 2 floors high. Then you had both bedrooms here with each a walk-in closet for the 2 children from the second marriage, and then for each one of the servants, for the maids, basically the maid quarters. They were located right next to them. They were living there. So they were all living more or less all together in this. It is not a very huge castle in terms of the amount of rooms, but that's basically on how they had that organized. Let me go to this here. So this is the main reception area here where you're coming in. And let me just show you this here. This is basically this area here with these stairs going up. You can see this. Now, let me see that I'm telling you this correctly, but I believe that's what that is. Yeah, this is this area here. There's no, or is that the Gartensaal? This could be, I think there could be this here as well. I'm not 100% sure right now which one that is. The stairs, the columns are above on the staircases. Yeah, this is this area here. Sorry, not this one here. This one we show you next here. This is this area here going up to the side room, and I believe this would be the side, this here into the billiard cabinet room, or the smoking room, basically. Let me go now and show you the other details here. This is basically what this looked like. This is the other one where we have the water fountain here with the marble. This is now stucco marble, what we call this. All of this is stucco marble, and I will explain this and how that actually worked. Everything you see here is stucco marble. This was all manufactured on site. And yeah, this is the other area here where they have the 2 pillars with the things here. Now it's a little bit confusing for me to do this because I'm sitting behind the computer and I cannot quite see this correctly here. Let me see. Let me go back to the yeah. Yeah, this is here, the vestibule. This is the area here with the water fountain. This is what I just showed you. This is where, this is that water fountain here inside. I should know that better, but You know, I don't look at these things every single day or trying to explain this. So you can see we have tons of stuff here to look at when we get there. Now, what did I do with the picture? Here. So this is the side wall here. This is the stairs with the 4 columns. This is this here. We can see the 4 columns here. This is the orange painted wall. This is where you go in. And then you have the right turn here where it goes to that water fountain. Here we can actually see the water fountain standing there. We can see how Lowe's drawing actually have changed during the process and what it actually is and what he did do and didn't do basically. Here, this is this view here. So you can see the stairs going up, the orange wall here, going through another staircase, and then you can see this. This is this here. Now I turned on Google, which I did not want to turn on. And yeah, this is basically, these are the 4 columns. You come in here, the orange wall, and then you're looking, basically you're seeing that part of the staircase here, and you're seeing into this area here where that water fountain is. Let me turn this back off. Yeah, so this is this area. Let me see what else we got here. Dining room. And this is then the garden side. This would have gone into that area here. This is the right view. This is from here viewing in this direction. This is this open area here. And this is the billiard room. This is basically what we're seeing. So they would have called this here. This was the open area with the Swiss Alp motifs here. And then back here where the chair, the seating group is, this was the billiard room. And after that was the smoking room. Let me turn this off. We don't need this here. This is this here. This is this larger. Okay. Okay, now let me show you the room first. Oh, this is the roof basically. This is what the roof looks like it. With the ladies, half-naked ladies and naked men on top of it. Or young men and young ladies, I should say. We're going to look at that in a second. This is now the inside, so that the river is down here where the field is basically. This is Dresden in the background. The ice cellar is this building over here in this area. Let me see if I can zoom in here. If we can see this better, not really. This is that hallway, the passage through it. That's where the entrance is into this complex here where the ice cellar was. And this is just the main entrance area. The stairs to the water fountain and then the driveway basically in front of it. So just that you have an orientation on this. This is again this picture here with the columns and the water fountain. This is now the entrance area to the castle. I'm not exactly sure what they had in these buildings here, but they're there. And I don't know if they were there from the beginning or not, but you can see these are all semi-dressed ladies we had there. There was a lot of that stuff. And this is the dome on the main staircase with all the previous Prussian kings and the Duchess of Brandenburg and that sort of stuff. I don't know how many it is. 12? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 16 of them. It would be 16. This is one of these young men in the nude, I guess. And this is one of the ladies in the nude. There were plenty of these statues around. Another one. This is the actual crown room, as we call it. So this would be on the 2nd level, and this would be on the 3rd level, what you're seeing here. And I think I have a better picture of it. This is actually the entrance area to the grand staircase, and I have a better picture of it. This is a brass staircase, which has the insignia of the Order of the Black Eagle incorporated. The Prussian eagle, as you can see it here, and then our insignia with the crowns and Suum Suique, the slogan in it. This is all engineered or stucco marble you have here, because that is rounded, and you can see this here as well too. And they made this. These were molded pieces. I will explain that later. Just so you have an idea. And this is now again the crown room. Yeah, and here we can see we have slightly dressed ladies here, young ladies. Some of them are bare-breasted, some of them are not, and it is all a Venetian type. You can see this here, the Italian Venice Venetian gondola. It was all inspired by his liking of the Roman Empire and the Latin language, which he was very proficient in, my third great grandfather. And this, what you're seeing here, is all stucco. That means it is plaster. It is regular lime plaster with stucco marble, which they created. This is not real marble, this is stucco marble. But this is how detailed this is, and you can get an idea. This is not really difficult to do, is because all they did was they made a lime casting, or a wood cast, a wood box basically, as a negative, and they would then pour that with lime gypsum out, or plaster, lime plaster, and then they would get these details, and then this whole piece was dried and then basically just plastered to the wall. Basically, that's all that is. So all these people, these repetitive ornaments and boxes and things like this, all of the stuff was casted. They had a cast for it, so all they did is they molded it, and then they basically glued it on there, but it is still a lot of work. We have this here too. You can see this in every room. All of this stuff here, what looks like it to be marble, is engineered marble, because you cannot construct or work with marble the way they did here. See, you can marble does not have these kind of big veins the way they're running, and it is very difficult to actually route a channel into a cylinder, a marble cylinder. We can make marble cylinders today on a lathe, but back then they didn't have that, so that would have been rather cumbersome, and especially since they're made out of one piece. I would say the length of those is probably 4 meters or so, 3.5, 4 meters in length each. They would have been very heavy. Now this is the bath which I had shown you in here, and there we have quite some mosaics. These are kind of tiles which they put up, and then they have a bathroom in here, which was basically a lead liner they had back then, which they made, and that is most likely a slate type stuff. This is another castle where I found a fireplace, which is also engineered marble. As soon as you have half rounded or rounded shapes in there, or deeper going into the wall and that sort of stuff, these kind of things. Let me see what else we have here. This is now, these are the pictures from 1910. I go get to this in a second here. But before that, I wanted to show you the staircase. And I wanted to show you, this is again the crown room here, where you can see the upper part of it, the ceiling. All of this is stucco. This was his second wife, and this was his first wife. That's the one he divorced. That is my third great grandmother. That was him when he was young. And this was his firstborn son from the second marriage. He sold the castle in 1925 to the city of Dresden. The story is that he had gambling debts, but I think this was rather a product of the hyperinflation in 1925 that he had to sell this. So this is what they did, is they no longer used this as a water fountain, but they have put that as a bouquet holder, I guess, in there with the sunflowers, it looks like it. Yeah, this was his son. His second-born son died in 1914. This was during the renovation from during the 1970s or early 80s in East Germany, after East Germany had declared the building as a cultural heritage site, and they had to basically restore it to the original, looks of what it was before. This is a picture also from 1910 of what it actually looked like it in there. And this is one of the wallpapers which had come loose. This is these fabric type wallpapers which are mounted to cardboard. And I'm going to say something to this here in a second. Let me see here. This is the blue room with the vaulted ceiling. Again, this is all stucco marble, so that's all lime plaster, basically what that is. And this is the outside of the garden terrace, and here we can see that the hall, which used to be on this side, is no longer there. And they had put, at one point or another, this was taken out. And if there was that little flower room on the side of the building, that was also gone. So I have no clue when that was actually removed. This is just an architectural drawing, which unfortunately is a poor scan. You see this, that is that bathroom again. This is now that hidden staircase, and they just recently uncovered the staircase going down. And it goes down, this is basically coming from the library here. This is the library side where that goes in and goes down. Let me see if we have that in this drawing here. We can see this better. Yeah, oops, I have to go to the, here. This is the stairs. So this is basically this door going in, and then it goes downstairs. And that was sealed off, so they have no clue where this goes to. But since it goes downstairs, I would say it probably would go to the basement. And this is now the cardboard stuff. And there's another picture I wanted to show you first. This is the billiard room and the other room behind it, which was the smoking room. And they're restoring this. The base material here is cardboard. And cardboard was invented in 1850 or 1845, somewhere around there. And this was they didn't use cardboard, of course, for shipping purposes, because they crated everything up in wooden boxes and they filled it with sawdust and saw chips and that sort of stuff. And so cardboard was only used for these kind of purposes as a material to hold something to the wall, basically, to the subframe. And I found another wonderful picture here of a lady and her husband from, here she is, from Australia, who bought a castle in France, and I cannot pronounce the name, Pronon, something like this, and they're restoring it. And here you can see two things. This here is the cardboard you just saw in the other picture. I will talk about this a little bit more. And that cardboard was simply nailed. You can see the nails here with white head nails to a, subframe of wood, which would then sit inside the wood paneling system here, like this. And they put a piece of paper over that, in this case here, to put new wallpaper on there. They either used cardboard for plaster or for ornaments or for wallpaper. And before they had the cardboard, they were using this here, which is basically a potato sack, a burlap sack material. You can see this very nicely here of what this looked like it. This is what they used in it. And it was the same thing, as they would just nail this, the sack material, to the wood frame. And this would serve as their substrate or their underground, their ground for the gypsum, for the plaster, for the lime plaster and or the stucco marble, basically. So this is sort of on how this worked. So if we go back here, the city of Dresden is restoring this one room. And this is basically the transition here from the wall to there's that wood frame behind it, and that is the cardboard here, the brown stuff. I'm going to zoom in here. And as you can see, is they have glued ornaments on here, which is like a copper type foil, which they had painted. And what they're doing is they're using a laser to clean this up because it was the smoking room. So you can see this. This is the cardboard with these ornate ornaments glued to them. You have your crown molding here. That could be wood painted white, or it could be stucco. And this is basically the frame which holds this whole thing here in place. And they're using a laser to take the dirt off the cardboard. And this is basically what this looks like. So this is the unclean current state here. And this is what that looks like after they have worked this with the laser. Now you can actually see the goldish colors and all the other colors. Now the restorer can come in and recolor or repaint this if that is necessary. And this was the only purpose for cardboard during those years. So that was another aspect of this. So I found this interesting. And that is the same here. So they would use that sack linen, that burlap sack, and or potato sack basically, and then put a coat of plaster on it, probably say like a half a centimeter thick or maybe a centimeter, and then they could paint on it like they did in this case here. Or they would also make a fireplace mantle around it, you know, that kind of stuff. And this is all the stucco marble, what we call this. And that video I'm going to show you is going to be about this. Now I wanted to show you real quick. This is the hallway. This is the lady again here. So this is the book I actually found. I have a copy of, and I scanned a few pages. This is the modern building forms from 1910. That was the 9th year they published it. But Paul Klopfer was the one who came out of it, who published it. This is not what we want to see. Now I gotta go. These are all the pictures we haven't looked at yet. Let me do that first, and then let me show you the library. The library pictures. Here they come. This is the stuff here. The library. Let's see, where do we have the library? Here. Unfortunately, the scan is not very big. This is the library with the bookcases he had. This is what it looked like it in 1910. And this here, these double doors, this is where it goes to that staircase. And they thought that this was not a door until they started recently working on remodeling this area. And they discovered that those were two doors going to that staircase. And these are the fireplaces. And this was my great-grandfather's desk. I don't think he put that statue in there in the library. So these were walnut, I believe, bookcases he had there. And this is what this looked like it in 1910. He was already dead by that time he died in 1872. So that would have been 38 years after he had passed away. And you can see here we don't have as much knick-knack on the walls, but just some plaster, crown molding type stuff. This was up here in that choral room, in that music room overlooking the crown room. And this is just one chair they took a picture of, and that was a table here they took a picture of. This is again what the outside looks like it. And this was actually the bathroom of his wife. That was the toilet, what they described as toilet. And you can see the two drawer curtains. The window is here, the two drawer curtains. And this was tiles, basically, ceramic tiles with wood. And you got coat hangers here and coat hangers over here. So they would step in, and they had a toilet chair there. That is a chair with a hole in it and a bucket underneath. And I don't know if they used already toilet paper at that time, or they still had a sponge on a wood stick with a bucket of water next to it to wipe your behind. Otherwise, they would here put up a zinc tub, basically, and then carry their buckets with hot and cold water up here. Because there was no running water, this was probably put in later. This was 1910. So this was already then a sink. By then they had a sink with hot and cold water. But before then, in 1850, they had to drag the buckets up here. And then you would take a bath here, unless you went into the basement and you did the bath down there. But that was the regular bathrooms, basically, of what they looked like at the time, without any indoor plumbing at that point. Like I said, it's the indoor plumbing came later. Here again, too, these are marble. This is all engineered marble here as well, with all that artwork on top of it. And this is why that usually takes so long to build these buildings. Now, this was the staircase. Let me show you the staircase. Now, I didn't put it in a real sequence. I could not figure out for any money in the world on how to organize these pictures so I can go through a complete line of this. Let me, just a second. Let me see where we got this here. Because I wanted to show you two things. For one is I wanted to show you, this is the third floor, the end of the staircase, of the main staircase. So the dome is above this part here, and this is where it goes in back to the Kasse, where it's at Kasse and the safe room and the silver room and that sort of stuff, and the extra bedrooms. And here we can actually see the insignias really nice from the Order of the Black Eagle, and you have the Black Eagle here. So the staircase goes all the way up in that theme. And this is the dome ceiling as well here, with lightly closed young ladies. I like this. Yeah. And this is again here the crown room. This is the other room. This is the Red Saloon, what they call the Red Saloon. That is the ceiling work in here. You can see this. This is all plaster, lime plaster, what that is, with gold leaf and gold paint on it. Like I said, the set is not very difficult to make, especially if today with the CNC machine. And here we can see these marble columns. And you have more of these figurines up here. This is all engineered plaster. This is all plaster, what you're seeing here. This one here as well, too. This is the actual chandelier. This is one of the bare-breasted ladies with a harp. There's another bare-breasted lady. Yeah, it was all very nudist. My grandfather was not a very religious person, I can tell you that much, and that was a good way to keep the church people out of the building who were offended by this. And this is basically how this works. This is the top of the thing, and you can see this here, is that this is two separate pieces. And here, when we really look at this, we can see where the beat is. So what they did is they have, this is one part, this is one part, and this is another part. So they put the column up. Then there's an air gap of, I would say, probably 2 to 3 centimeters, a little bit over an inch. And then you have this piece. This piece here is basically molded in a mold, because they replicated 10, 15, 20 of them. So they made one mold, and they pour the prepared dough in there, which you will see in the video later. And then when that is hardened, they basically put that up, and they lift it up with 2 wood pieces or, with some sticks. Then you have the gap, and then they fill this up, and then they kind of mold that. They put that bead around it so it looks like it one piece, but it is really 3 pieces, 3 separate pieces. And then up here we can see what also again looks like marble slats. These are actually cast stucco marble, which were cast in the width of it. And the people who worked on it, they put you can see this, they put a bead of caulking, white caulking underneath it. It looks like silicone caulking, just to hold everything together. This is just an overall. This is the crown room. This is the overall view of this. And I had one picture I hope I can find where I can show you. This is this is the room where they're working on that wallpaper. This is this cardboard stuff above the woodwork. This is the one which they're cleaning up with the laser. This is the room where that is happening. This was the entrance area. I had a picture, and I have to find it, where we can see a crack in this. And that is something I wanted to show you, what this actually looks like. Well, I must have skipped so fast through it. Those are all the pictures you have seen. It showed one corner. This was that, this is amazing. Whenever you're trying to find something, you can't find it. Yeah, this is the dome again here. You can see this, that's the top railing there. This here and this. That's all the details here. Now I have to be real careful that I don't miss that picture. Here. It was hidden here in this corner. Here is the culprit. This was so innate and detailed that it is very hard to overlook. You can see this and how we have a crack going through here, in here going around this way, and this piece is about ready to fall out. And then that cracking continues into this piece, going down on the side of this frame, and then keeps going down. This is typical for marble plaster, or plaster stucco marble, what they actually call it. See this, it goes all the way down. And here's what happens. This is now in the crown room where they have a lot of people in there. And in these corners, especially in the ceiling, during the nighttime, all of this stuff cools down because they turn the heat normally, or they used to turn the heat off. And then if you have an event, and so the whole plaster structure, everything cools down, say like to 10 degrees, 14 degrees Celsius, somewhere around there. Could be even lower. It could go to 5 degrees Celsius, depends on how cold it is outside. It can get pretty cold in these buildings because there's virtually no insulation. And then they have, say like at 10 o'clock an event, or 9 o'clock in the morning. And that event happens in this room, and they have 50 people in here. When we breathe out warm, moist air. And of course, warm air rises into the ceiling or under the ceiling. And now because this stuff is all cold, that warm air basically starts to condense and forms moisture in these corners. That moisture goes into the lime, since it is basically all what it is, it's lime, and it will start cracking it. And then usually what happens is you have these type of pieces here they're starting to fall out all the way. It is usually in the corners and then on the top of the ceiling. Let me see if I find that picture again, that I can show you what the most here. The damage here in this particular picture, which I showed you, would be in one of these corners here, but it is actually on the other side of the room. And it is these parts here, especially around here, on the top of the ceiling, where most of the damage occurs. And then if you have a dining room table or table underneath it, this stuff can wind up in your soup or on top of your plate at the worst possible time. That was a common problem. And the only way you can avoid this is lime will do this. Lime, as soon as lime gets cold, lime plaster or lime marble, lime-based, I mean marble is lime, but if it is man-made or engineered or stucco marble, what we call it, then the moisture will get in it and it will start dissolving, and even the slightest vibration will then crack these pieces out and they fall out. So this is the main cost in maintaining this kind of environment, for the upkeep, is to constantly repair that type of marble and lime stucco, what you got there. That is a never-ending story. The only way you can avoid this is by using a plaster, which is basically cement-based, because cement is pretty how should I say this, resistant to condensation, to moisture from condensation. The condensed moisture will actually penetrate lime, but it will not penetrate a cement-based mortar or gypsum or plaster, basically. But then you have to contend with the gray colors. So now this was the things I wanted to show you. I hope you have gotten some ideas. You could basically cast a piece of lime plaster and put that in a in a 3D machine, basically in a, what do you call it, a CNC machine with a router head on it, and then you can contour this out, take these pictures, get them converted over into a format for a CNC machine, and then you can actually make these pieces. If you get a small, they sell them for a few $100s. So if you make them 1 meter by 1 meter, and say like 2 centimeters thick, and you cast these, or 5 centimeters thick, you can actually machine this, and then you just basically plaster them onto the ceiling, one plate at a time. That's basically what they did, except that they used the mold for it. But you could do this as easily on a CNC machine, on a small CNC machine, since that lime is not very hard. Usually you can use plain lime, or you can use very little sand. It has to be very fine and very white sand. But the less sand you have in there, the better off you are. And you can then basically explore this all yourself. Okay, so now we're going to go on and we're going to watch that little documentary on how they actually used to make this kind of stucco marble, and how this was mixed and put together. And that will be then the end of this video. It became out a lot longer, but I hope you're going to have a great evening, and we will see you again.
Aber noch ist es nicht so weit. Stuckmarmor besteht überwiegend aus Gips und Wasser. Eine Mischung, die bekanntermaßen nach wenigen Minuten steinhart wird. Aber der Stuckateur hat da einen Trick. Er mischt ein Verzögerungsmittel unter. Meist ist das in Wasser gelöster Naturleim, aber auch Bier und Wein. Auch der Saft der Eibischwurzel soll funktionieren. Wichtig ist nur, Zeit zu haben, in aller Ruhe die Masse kneten zu können und mit Bedacht die vorgegebene Farbmischung für den Marmor zu finden.
Ja, das Schöne am Stuckmarmor ist natürlich das Mischen und diese Farben mit dem Gips zugeben. Und das erleben und entdecken dann, wie der Marmor wird. Und wenn er dann nachher noch die Struktur und Farbe bekommt, die man will, ist es wirklich ein schönes Erfolgserlebnis.
Die Wahl der Farbe war früher beileibe nicht zufällig. Vielmehr sollte sie beim Betrachter des Werks Assoziationen auslösen. Gelb konnte zum Beispiel für Neid und Eifersucht stehen, schwarz für Trauer, rot für Blut als Symbol für Opfer und Märtyrertum. In der Wahl der Farben äußerte sich das Temperament und die Einstellung des Künstlers zu seiner Arbeit. Das macht auch das Restaurieren von großflächigen Zerstörungen so schwer. Wie die charakteristischen Farben der verschiedenen Stuckatoren, wie sie früher genannt wurden, herausfinden. Der Gips zieht Wasser aus dem Klümpchen, sodass die Farbe, die in nassem Zustand dunkler scheint, leichter mit einem Muster des originalen trockenen Marmors verglichen werden kann. Je mehr Erfahrung der Stuckateur hat, umso mehr Zeit wird er sich nehmen, bis er mit seiner Mischung zufrieden ist. Mischen, prüfen, korrigieren, wieder prüfen. Und um es genau beurteilen zu können, geht Werner Schwendtner vor die Tür. Denn nur Tageslicht zeigt die Farben, wie sie wirklich sind.
Durch den Zusatz bzw. die Menge von dem Leimwasser kann man auch den Abbindeprozess verzögern von einer Stunde bis auf 10 Stunden theoretisch. Weiteres ganz wichtiges Kriterium dabei ist, dass durch das Kneten von dem Gips, also viel mehr Gips in eine Menge Wasser eingegeben wird, dass wir einen ganz anderen Verdichtungsgrad bekommen und dadurch entsteht auch die Härte, die der Stuckmarmor braucht, dass man überhaupt einen Glanz aufschleifen bzw. aufpolieren kann.
Von allen Farbschattierungen, die in dem auszubessernden Bereich am Altar vorkommen, hat sich Werner Schwendtner so viel Masse hergestellt, dass sie sicher reichen wird. Daraus rollt der Stuckateur Kügelchen, entsprechend der vorgegebenen Größe und in der Häufigkeit, wie es der bestehende Marmor aufgibt, und formt sie vorsichtig zu einer Kugel. Farbspritzer werden die marmortypische Aderung ergeben. Ein falscher Handgriff, zu stark gepresst, die Kugeln zu groß, zu klein, ein Farbspritzer zu viel und der neue Marmor wird nicht zum alten passen. Da zeigt sich die besondere Herausforderung, die in der Restaurierung von Kunstmarmor liegt. Für einen Marmoristen, so die Bezeichnung eines Stuckators, der sich auf die Herstellung von Kunstmarmor spezialisiert hatte, existierte dieses Problem nicht. Er war frei in der Wahl der Farbe und Struktur. Obwohl eine Beschränkung gab es schon. Der Marmorist hatte sich an echtem Marmor zu orientieren. Aber warum verwendete man dann nicht gleich echten Marmor? Zunächst einmal, weil Kunstmarmor viel billiger war. Damals als Zeit noch nicht mit Geld gleichgesetzt und Handarbeit noch kein Luxusartikel war. Wieder hat der Gips nur die Funktion, Feuchtigkeit aus der Masse zu ziehen. So kann zügig weitergearbeitet werden.
Wie aus den Büchern aus bekannt ist, war die Barockzeit eigentlich eine relativ lockere, teilweise sogar sehr lustige Zeit, freimütig in allem. Und das äußert sich halt auch in ihrer Arbeit, die nicht immer alles so genau genommen haben, wie das zum Beispiel heute der Fall wäre, wo man dann gleich nachmisst, ob du ja auf einen Zentimeter alles genau ist. Und die haben das einfach, die haben die Freiheit gehabt, den so zu machen, wie es ihnen Spaß gemacht hat.
Wie zum Beispiel hier in der Bibliothek von Waldsassen, gebaut vor über 200 Jahren.
Also wenn ich so eine Stuckdecke sehe, da beneide ich echt meine Kollegen von früher. Die müssen so viel Spaß gehabt haben, so etwas zum Modellieren zu dürfen, zum Antragen. Wenn man dann so rüberschaut, Das ist eigentlich egal wo. Überall sind irgendwelche spaßige Sachen einmodelliert. Oder schau mal hier, da wirft einer seine Leiter ab. Der Hut und sein Stock, der liegt schon unten. Mein Gott, das war ein Auftraggeber. He? So was fehlt uns heute. Normalerweise werden also so kleine Ergänzungen im Stuckmarmorbereich freihand aufgetragen, zugeschnitten und später dann eben geschliffen. Bei größeren Teilen oder bei Profilierungen von Gesimsen oder so kann man dann auch den Weg wählen, dass man eine Negativform macht, dort den Stuckmarmor eindrückt und später dann an die fehlende Stelle ansetzt.
Wenn er ein Stück seiner Arbeit aus Schlössern oder Kirchen mit hierher nehmen kann, wie diesen Abguss.
Das Reizvolle am Stuckmarmor ist natürlich auch das, dass man damit Dinge machen kann, die mit dem echten Marmor nicht möglich wären. Zum Beispiel in 14 Heiligen, dass so ganz fein ziselierte und im Farben abwechselnd reichen Spiel einfach Konstruktionen geschaffen wurden, die im echten Marmor einfach nicht möglich sind. Bei diesem einzigartigen Stuckmarmoraltar, den wir hier sehen, da wird mir es wirklich klar, weshalb der nicht aus dem echten Marmor sein konnte. So einen Marmorklotz aus einem Guss wird es gar nicht geben, der diese Farbigkeit hat, die genau zur Kirche hin abgestimmt ist. Genauso wie diese Filigranheit. Oben da wird einfach ein echter Marmor einfach brechen oder man würde die Gussnähte bzw. die Versetznähte sehen. Eines der wenigen Sachen, die man also nicht im Stuckmarmor imitieren kann, sind zum Beispiel diese transparenten Partien, die wir hier sehen. Und da haben die einfach den Trick gemacht und haben ein paar Scheiben von einem echten Marmor in den Stuckmarmor eingelegt.
Kunstmarmor ist nur eines der vielen Gebiete, die zu diesem Handwerk gehörten. Ein anderes ist der Anthraxstuck, das Vieren sind. Winkel gleich mit einarbeiten.
Früher, wenn ich so ein Ornament modelliert habe, da habe ich halt rummodelliert und nochmal und oft nachgeschnitten und so. Und das ist also eigentlich gar nicht so gut. Besser ist es, wenn man das schnell machen kann und im weichen Zustand den Gips dann an die Decke bringt und daraus entsteht dann das Leben, das im Ornamentstück ist. Also da muss wirklich so ein Schwung reinkommen und das geht halt besser, wenn man es flott machen kann.
Zum bildhauerischen Können, das Voraussetzung für diese Arbeit ist, kommt noch eine weitere hinzu: ein Wissen über perspektivische Verschiebungen. Was später von unten richtig aussehen soll, muss der Stuckateur, der ja dicht unter der Decke arbeitet, leicht verzerrt modellieren, quasi den anderen Blickwinkel gleich mit einarbeiten. Ohne Erfahrung ist das nicht zu machen. Aber auch dann ist es sinnvoll, die Baustelle so einzurichten, dass ein Kontrollblick von unten möglich ist. Eine Restaurierung wie die der beiden Seitenaltäre braucht Zeit. 3 Monate hat es gedauert, bis alle schadhaften Stellen ergänzt, mehrmals gespachtelt und geschliffen waren. Jetzt wird noch gestuckt. Dafür muss das Leimwasser gefiltert sein, denn es dürfen keine harten, kratzenden Körnchen in die Gipssuppe gelangen. Mit ihr wird der Marmor ein letztes Mal überstrichen. So schließen sich auch die kleinsten noch verbliebenen Poren, Voraussetzung für Glanz.
Die Hauptarbeit beim Stuckmarmor besteht natürlich außer dem Mischen mit Schleifen, Schleifen und nochmal Schleifen. Da fragt man sich manchmal dann schon, warum nimmt man dann nicht eine Maschine dafür? Aber da wird man einfach die Fläche tot machen. Und die Gesimse oder sowas lassen sie sowieso nicht mit der Maschine schleifen. Aber allein eine Fläche im Stuckmarmor, die muss ein gewisses Leben drin haben, das eben durch das Handschleifen kommt. Also minimale Vertiefungen, die einfach mal da sind und die so eine gewisse Lichtbrechung geben und damit einfach den Marmor lebendig machen.
Ist die Arbeit einmal so weit gediehen, freut sich Werner Schwendner immer wieder, wenn nicht einmal er sicher sagen kann, wo genau der alte Marmor aufhört und wo sein neu eingefügter anfängt. Jedenfalls überall hier hat er ausgebessert. Hält man sich vor Augen, dass Schleifen und Polieren nicht Tage, sondern Wochen dauert, dann wird klar, warum Stuckmarmor heute um ein Vielfaches teurer als echter Marmor ist. Aber das allein kann nicht der Grund sein, warum Kunstmarmor kein Gestaltungsmittel mehr ist. Es muss daran liegen, dass wir, aber vor allem Bauherren und Architekten, Stuck ganz allgemein nur in Verbindung mit Barock, Rokoko und Jugendstil begreifen und dabei übersehen, welche Fülle von Möglichkeiten in diesem Handwerk schlummern. Neue, ungeahnte Formen könnten entwickelt werden, in einer Freiheit, wie sie nur Stuck ermöglicht.
Wenn ich mir jetzt also dieses kleine Altärchen so anschaue und dann feststelle, dass das Antipendium zum Beispiel so verschiedenfarbig ist. Auf der einen Seite ist es so blaugrün und auf der anderen Seite fehlt einfach diese Farbbrillanz, es ist so abgestumpft durch Gelbtöne und man weiß nicht, warum haben die das so gemacht. Vielleicht ist der Farbausgang, sie haben sich stecken müssen. Ja. Wenn uns das heute passieren würde, wird man einfach mit dem Auto geschwind in den nächsten Farbenladen fahren, die zwar auch weg sind oder weiter weg sind, aber man wird es bekommen. Die damals mussten dann wahrscheinlich mit dem Pferd ein paar hunderte von Kilometern reiten, bis sie dann wieder in der Farbmühle waren und dort diese für sie ja auch damals sehr teuren Farben zu kaufen.
Drängt die Zeit, dann muss auch in die Nacht hineingearbeitet werden. Noch letzte Ausbesserungen am Ornamentstuck, damit Vergolder und Kirchenmaler die Restaurierungsarbeiten vollenden können.